Thanks for staying with us. So to add to this conversation, I have 2 points, and I think I have 3 points. But the first point to add to this conversation, somebody was trying to explain African education before the colonial masters, and she used the analogy of time. Says, you know how the West taught us that there's 1 o'clock, there's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 a.m., that before the colonialists came, back then, time for an African was about the relationship with the earth. So you say when the cock crows, you come in the morning, or when the sun sets, you describe time with the energies and the elements of the world. Yeah. That our education was completely different from the West. It was just and making it look like education had to be in the Western way is not completely accurate. Yeah. That if they had allowed us to educate and develop completely, the way we relate to every element of life would be different from the way they do that. That's one. Second point is, if you recall, during the Berlin conference, where Africa was tied up into small pieces of cakes of the pies. Before the Berlin conference, we used to trade. People used to come in from the northern part, Egypt, to trade all the way. We used to have that interrelationship. Yeah. But after the Berlin conference, where Africa was cut up into pieces, everybody said, you take that side, I take this side, they cut us up. And they now had their own various regions. That was part of what happened with our mentality, where we realized that, okay, now I'm forced to connect and relate to you as a country member. Now, because before we used to be inter-trade partners, but then we were forced. Now, all part of what affected our mentality of who we are. Like, okay, maybe I didn't realize that this was my brother. Now we are forced to be in one region because of the cake that was cut up. Now, the third part of the point I was trying to make is, today, we see what is happening in Burkina Faso with Captain Ibrahim Traore, and he's gaining serious popularity. Yeah. What is he doing? He's going against France. He's going against the Western education. He's going against the fact that France has been taking their resources, their gold, 50% of their treasury goes straight to France. The entire France economy is mostly built. I think 70 or 80% built on colonialism. On the resources from these countries. So the question I'm asking now, going by this backdrop of this woman's video, and where Africa is heading, based on these 2-3 countries, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, do you think Africa as a whole needs to start rethinking? Because we see our own president hanging out with France, the guy who Burkina Faso is completely working against. He's pals with our president. So it seems like Nigeria, who is a heavyweight, is still in bed with our Western colonialists.
Obviously.
So the point is, as an African, in your view, do you think it's time for us to wake up to that thinking, or to that, I don't want to use the revolution, it's too strong a word, to that reorientation of the people, where that we are taking back our continent, and that means economically, in every way.
So we need, you need to, sometimes it's better to go to the past so that you can properly plan the future. You need to excavate some things. They don't build high-rise without excavating and planting the foundations deep. They have planted a foundation so deep into the subconscious of how we see ourselves that is influencing our decision-making consciously and subconsciously. As a nation, majority of our leaders, we are the minority. Those of us, look at the people that have money, middle class, as they gather their money, where are they going to? It's Jackpot. Why? There are many things. We're not even making a conscious decision. It's just the way it is. So, for us to change it, the countries who have developed, what did they do? They did not go and, China did not go and ask Western world, come and help my economy to grow. India did not go and ask Western world, come and help my economy to grow. Those who, if we want to change, because everybody is selfish. Mario, I'm very, very nice. But before I would give you, I would have taken care of myself. And I'm a Christian, and I'm a very kind person. I will still, I can't give you, I'm hungry, I want to share with you, but I'll still eat, then I'll not give you. So you are not going to meet the Western world to come and help you. So they will just dash you the money.
How?
Or they will just dash you the resources, or they will dash you the intelligence, or they will dash you. For every time we think they are our solution, we will continue to remain in bed with them, which means that we don't really have a bed. We are temporarily just occupying a space that they own. So for us as a nation and as a continent to develop, we must look within. The solutions are within. It's going to, we are the suffering. I wish that the suffering that Nigeria is suffering now is with that intention in mind. We will know that, okay, we are fighting this battle, but we know we'll get the benefit. Maybe in the next 10, 20 years. We haven't. Even till now, we haven't. We are still flying from country to country, going to seek investments, because we need dollars, because we are borrowing money, because everything we are importing, we need dollars to fund it. We have mortgaged our entire crude oil that is going to come out for the next future to countries that are giving us dollar, and they're not, like, we're collecting aid. The aid is coming. There are many things being done. We should understand it is with their own interest. If what we do
talking
is
about
our
that,
own interest.
right. The United Nations, WHO, all were created. All but
with an agenda. They have an agenda. It is not with our interest in mind.
Let me come to you. I think it was a BC or Mariam who wanted to go ahead.
Okay. So
you think we should start thinking ahead in this regard?
Of course, definitely we should start thinking ahead. But also, I'd like us to, while we're thinking ahead, be aware of the world that we're living now. And whether we like it or not, the Western world is the superpower of the world. And because of that, it would not be an extrication. We're not doing anymore. We cut off. It can't happen anymore that way. There's just so many relationships and agreements and things like that that have been going back and forth. But what it will take for us is that going forward, when we sit down with them, remember to put your country first. In some conversations, in some agreements, remember that they are not here because they love us. A lot of the times, the aid that they have given us has been wrapped as, you know, for me, those aids, it's just exploitation wrapped up as aids. You know, we're here to help Africa. We're here to help the dying people of Africa. But we know that that's not really what it's about. So Africa just... And I think Africa has finally gotten there, where we realize, oh, it's not for kindness. It's really about, exploitation, but in a new way, in a softer way, in a way that does not look politically aggressive. Let's just use this word. So Africa needs to do differently, because for those who have tried to do it the tough way, to do it like Gaddafi, we know what happened. You know, there are many African leaders before us who have tried to do it that way. That Africa was not even ready, did not even see the vision. Africans themselves laid these people up and gave them up. You know, so we are in a world where the Western world is the superpower. But how do we go about it? Let's understand that, first of all, in our education, let's go here, whether we like it or not. Let our leaders understand that they need to build this place. Our resources, don't just open them up for people from different countries to come and be taken and be exploiting. Yes, the dollar is good, but what do we need to do about the naira, about the currency in Africa? Nigeria cannot do it alone. Africa as a continent needs to sit down. What is the currency we need to use? The trade between our countries, how do we need to push it and make sure that we are self-sufficient in Africa? What do we need to... We know that the West needs our resources and our raw materials. How can we, as Africa, leverage that?
Negotiate
so
better.
that when they come, there's a way that they come, and then they will buy it at premium price.
Bam.
So those are the things. And then when smaller African countries are still struggling with their colonialism, you see they're Francophone countries. For us, Anglophone countries that have sort of finally gotten off our colonialist back somehow, Francophone countries still pay
dearly
to their colonialists, to France, till today, many years after being independent.
You know, interestingly, I'll come to UBC. You know, somebody was saying that it's easier to sell to the United Kingdom and to sell to Namibia within Africa because it's so difficult to trade within Africa. So these are the real conversations for the AU. But you know, I wanted to add an example to what you said. And I was doing I was working for the Commissioner for Education, Ministry of Education in Lagos State. And there was an educational intervention. Private company came to Lagos and we accepted it. Whilst we're developing it, there was the fear, even amongst the company, saying that this thing is going to help local education, basic education. But the international big brothers like the DFIDs, these World United Nations organizations, these NGOs would never allow this thing to be successful, because they have an agenda. So that was a major fear, because once that program started, they started having meetings, using things like getting our teachers to the what they call them, these labor unions, to speak against it, they're working against it, because like if this thing succeeds, it goes completely against the objective, the bigger objective,
which
of
is
this
money.
big-
So
these are the examples of what happens.
how they want to.
No matter how we push forward, all those NGOs, all those groups, some of them have a bigger agenda that many of us don't see.
Yes, so because we're not also pushing forward with a form of conviction, we don't need to get their buy-in in what we do within, right? If we create, like this thing we're talking about, we start it here, we create a standard. The examinations that the children are doing, we have our own internal standard. If later on you choose to go and do with their own standard, that's a different ballgame. But we have something that's working for us. When we go to the workplaces, those are we are picking people based off of our standards. No, listen now.
No.
This is internal. I'm saying internal. See, you
I
cannot
want
start
you to
solving a
address,
problem.
I want you to address and to reply me properly.
Yeah, that's
based
what I'm doing.
on, let me finish. There's a point I want to make
Okay.
that I want you to, because when you now respond, you can respond holistically.
Okay.
Part of my experience there is where these international bodies, what they do, they'll come and maybe they have maybe the leaders of some labor, teachers, everything. They carry them to maybe Geneva
To
go for this nice conference, training, and many of them, many public servants live for international training.
Yes.
Carry them there and then tell them that this thing is a bad thing. Don't let you must ensure you must work against this private company trying to bring education to your state. Now, when they come back, what they do, they tell all the other teachers, and there's that pressure groups that say, no, we don't want it. That because there's a larger agenda. So there's an international force that stops
behind it.
So
Because
now
we
you're
are
responding.
still being brainwashed to believe that they mean well for us. That's where critical thinking comes into place. You cannot come to my house and tell me this is what you think is better for my children in my house. We
Because
need,
you are
as
thinking.
a nation, to take a stand that, okay, we've heard you, we have done the training, but in Nigeria, this is what we want to do for ourselves, to create our own standards. We can always find a way to, do your own later, but this is what we are doing as a country. That's how China broke it. That's how India broke it. You have to stand. Not when they bamboozle you, they go put you up on all those conferences, brainwash you, you come back and the mindset is they are still better than you. So that's one. Secondly, the oppressor cannot be trusted to tell the stories because they will retell it to absorb themselves.
Of course.
The oppressed now needs to come and tell their own stories from their own perspectives. We need to start retelling our stories. We need to know our history. We need to dig up some of those things that we felt we had lost. That's one. Secondly, we don't need the colonialists to lead us to where we're going to. The first thing is we need to start loving ourselves. It's not the colonialist that is our president. It's not the colonialist that is our governor. It's not the colonialist that is our local government chairman. And that's where the problem is. Now, because we do not naturally love ourselves, even the little resources that we have, we are not using it the way we're supposed to use it appropriately. So we don't even need to even start making, stay away from colonial masters, don't do this conference with them. We can do that. But the leaders of today, when we have those resources, do you think of your people first? We can begin to think of our people first, begin to do things properly, begin to enrich ourselves wisely and properly, make sure that at least the basics, the common man in Nigeria has the basics of life. With that said, we are going somewhere where we're now waiting to see, okay, how we can start re-engineering through our education. Our education needs to go back to, first of all, we even need a vision as a country. Where are we going to? Which aspects of our natural resources are we focusing
I have to
on?
wrap up. We have to wrap up because we have a guest. We have to wrap up on this. But when you talk about vision, I wanted to wrap up on that.
No problem.
When you talk about vision, it's really crucial because I think that's where the future is. And that's what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing. There's a vision.
He knows where he's
and that vision, he's driving the entire country towards that. And people are supporting him. I mean, it's amazing the amount of support he's getting both locally and internationally. So, but our own vision is our own vision in Nigeria, what I see, is trying to rebuild what has been dead for many years economically as a country. So maybe our vision is not yet about the identity of who we are. It's trying to see how internally, how we can even refix and get people to eat. I don't know, I'm just saying. But the point is, I agree with you. There has to be a more holistic vision such that as a Nigeria, we are talking very much about who we are and the interests of Nigerians as a people. How do we move forward to become a proud African such that the world see us as who we are and not as who they want us to be. I think that's all we can take on this segment. It's a conversation we're going to keep having.
Oh, forever.
This is an interesting conversation, but we have to go on a break because I have a guest. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.